Okay.
Hello and welcome. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Greenwich Live Sessions. This is your host Umar Khan, and we're back with another live session. And as it's Friday होता है लिटरेचर डे और आज कराची के अंदर बेहद बारिश हुई है सुबह से, इनफैक्ट कल से बारिश हो रही है और होती चली जा रही है, इसलिए काफ़ी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी के इश्यूज रहे हैं, इंटरनेट के इश्यूज रहे हैं, लेकिन हमारे लाइव सेशंस कहते हैं ना व्हेन देयर इज अ विल देयर इज अ वे, तो लाइव सेशंस बिल्कुल continued है. Sorry for the delayed start because we had some internet and electrical issues problem with our guest, and finally we're back और आज का बहुत ही मजेदार सेशन है because today we're going to talk about the period of romanticism और ये क्या है इस बारे में बिल्कुल हम आपको आज बताएंगे, थोड़ा खुल के बताएंगे क्योंकि कॉमन लेमैन जो मेरे टाइप का होता है उसको जो है ना ज़्यादा आइडिया नहीं होता कि चीज़ें क्या हैं, लेकिन आज मैं भी बहुत सीखूंगा और साथ ही साथ आप लोग भी काफी कुछ सीखेंगे. तो आज मेरे साथ मौजूद है हमारी को होस्ट सुंदस अनवर इज विद अस एंड वेलकम टू द शो सुंदस, होप यू डूइंग वेल.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for introducing me, Omar. And yes, inshallah, this is going to be a very good show regarding romanticism because the whole idea and the perceptions regarding it are kind of blurred. So we're going to try to, clear them out.
यस वी विल. हमारे साथ बिल्कुल हमारे बड़े खास दिल अजीज टीचर भी मौजूद हैं और मैं चाहूंगा कि सुंदस आप इनका इंट्रोडक्शन करें सो यू कैन डू जस्टिस टू सर मुर्तजा's इंट्रोडक्शन.
I wish I could. He's such an humble person. So we have with us Sir Murtaza Syed, and he's been with us for Masters in English Literature and Linguistics, and he teaches us specially literature subjects. I have had the honor of actually, being his student, and I've learned so much from him. He's a very well-known O-levels teacher as well, and he has affiliations with all, different institutions. So I welcome Sir Murtaza Syed. Sir Murtaza, how are you?
I'm pretty good, Sundus. That's a description more than I deserve. So thank you for that.
Okay, now the second we have Ikra Asif Mawal. Oh, okay. Yeah. Ikra is doing her master's in English literature. She's done her bachelor's in political science from Karachi University. She's a former academic coordinator at the Smart School, worked as a healthcare polio agent in UNICEF organization Pakistan 2016. She loves to write articles and poetry. Hi Ikra, how are you? She's neutral too. Yes, Ikra, can you say it again?
Assalamu alaikum, Sundas. How are you? I'm fine. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm good. Thank you so much for coming, Ikra. Really appreciate everything.
Begin this session और बिल्कुल बात करते हैं क्योंकि आज बारिश हुई तो बारिश के हिसाब से मेरा भी मूड बड़ा अच्छा था. And since we're talking about romanticism, the love of nature, so मैंने बोला क्यों ना मैं भी जरा माहौल के हिसाब से कुछ अपना love of nature show करूं. So we'll just move to Sir Murtaza and will like to know Sir Murtaza एक common layman को बताएं और सब लोगों को जो हमारे viewers हैं, audience हैं, कि basically what is romanticism? All right.
I think Sir Murtaza has some problem over there with his connection. So it's okay. If we take forward.
हमने स्टार्ट में इसीलिए बात की क्योंकि बारिश हुई हुई और बारिश की वजह से ना सबके इंटरनेट और इलेक्ट्रिसिटी इज अ बिट डिस्टॉर्टेड. सो वील जस्ट गो फॉर क्योंकि लाइफ इज ऑल अबाउट एडेप्टेशन. मसले हो, मुश्किलात हो, आंधी हो, तूफान हो, लाइव सेशन चलेंगे, नेट हो नेट ना हो, वी आर गोइंग टू कैरी ऑन. सो मीनवाइल टिल वी जॉइन Sir Murtaza joins us back. Sundus, आप if you can share a bit कि ये romanticism होता क्या है and what are we?
Definitely, I would love to. Actually, to be honest, Sir Murtaza would do amazing justice to it because his ideas were amazing. But basically, romanticism was that idea that how it was like a whole period. It was against the revolutionist idea, and it was something that was different. It was about how people were taking their existence as a different interpretation. Basically, लोगों को लगता था that they do not own themselves, or they were not. They were the people's people, or like they were this people's person. So romanticism helped in dividing individualism in people. Like उसने individualism लाया, and it kind of told us how we talk about, what should I say, the different criteria of romanticism. अगर मैं बात करूँ, so how we took it in the terms of nature love and the love for nature and how it should be, that a person is a person for its own. You're not the person for people. You're kind of the person who wins their own way. You're not the person who goes outside or some other way. So, that's how what romanticism is. And the whole idea, and, usually there's a connotation that Umar se bhi jab maine bahut pehle baat ki thi, Umar was like, what is romanticism? So this exactly. Because Umar had very, different thoughts about it as well. So,
मेरी मैं थोड़ा बताता हूँ. मैं असल में I am a very jolly kind of guy, so I always look at the humorous side of things. I absolutely know what romanticism is, but a common layman जो पहली चीज किसी भी एक आदमी जो लिटरेचर से जिसका ताल्लुक नहीं है, इंग्लिश से ताल्लुक नहीं है, उसके जहन में पहली चीज ये आती है ये रोमांटिसिज्म कुछ रोमांस है, कुछ रोमांटिक सा होगा. बट देन अगेन देयर इज क्वाइट अ लॉट ऑफ डेप्थ टू इट, और इसीलिए आज हम सेशन कर रहे हैं. सर मुर्तजा, कैन यू हियर अस? राइट. सो सर मुर्तजा वैसे ही हमें इतने अजीज हैं कि वो इस रूप में भी हमें बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं. तो मीनवाइल उनका इंटरनेट स्टेबल होता है तब तक गोइंग टू लुक एट हिम लाइक दिस. टिल देन यस, Sundus, कंटिन्यू.
Yes, as I was continuing. So basically, romanticism was about the idea that how a person loves nature and their, evocation or their love for nature. And basically, this was the whole revolution. I would say a different kind of a thing, because usually people are so materialistic over there. People were a lot, going where there was a lot of glitter or glam or something like that. But basically, the romantic poets, what they did was they actually, built their different way, and they wanted to, change this idea. Or जिस तरह sir ने मुझे बताया था that William Wordsworth, even when he won an award for being the most, great writer, or the great poet in romanticism, उसको भी romanticists ने disown कर दिया था. Why? Because they believe that no, you're not the person for people. You're not that. You're somebody for your own self. So you're kind of out of this whole race. So romanticists were like that. And if I want Ikra's point of view as well on this, so Ikra, can you continue?
Yeah. So romanticism is basically an era right after Shakespearean era, Elizabethan age. It's an 18th century in which a couple of poets who started writing, and they were just they revolted against realism, and they did not want to live in a society where reality exists, because they developed this idea in their mind, imagination is everything. So they started imagine nature, and they started writing on that. So basically, spirituality, they believe in nature, and they believe that nature is God for them. So it's not that romanticism which we usually, people, a common person cannot even understand this. This is a sort of thing, romanticism is about love, or yeah. So it's about love with nature, love about spirituality, love with God. So
Right. Samutula, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Right, we're still having trouble with the internet. सर असल में मैं बताता हूँ हुआ ये कि ये जो हमारे सॉफ्टवेयर है ना उसने बोला the person on the screen is way too attractive to run smoothly. आपकी वो पर्सनैलिटी हैवी है कि वो कैरी नहीं कर पा रहा है हमारा सॉफ्टवेयर, वो इसीलिए कह रहा है ये बंदा जो है ना हम स्मूथली चला ही नहीं पा रहे. Right, meanwhile till we fix the internet, Sundus आगे तरफ आते हैं. इकरा ने बिल्कुल इस चीज को और एलैबोरेट किया. टू समवॉट एक्सटेंट देखिए, इवन हम कह रहे हैं कि 18th सेंचुरी में एक एरा आया जिस पे सारे जो इंग्लिश पोइट्स हैं उन्होंने काम किया. बट इफ वी लुक एट आवर सूफीइज्म, जो हमारे जितने साइड में सूफीइज्म के शायर हैं उन्होंने तो हमेशा शायरी ही नेचर के ऊपर की. ठीक है, तो रोमांटिसिज्म का एक कॉन्सेप्ट और वर्ड आई बिलीव 18th सेंचुरी के अंदर लोगों के लिए नुमाया हुआ. बट हमारे जितने लेजेंड्स हैं हमारे सूफी पोएट्स, they always did their poetry on love of nature or on love of God. तो the concept was very much there, लेकिन उसका खुल के जो एक तस्वीर सामने आई वो later on in the 18th century discover हुई.
That's true. That's true. I would totally add to that, because there was like a whole generations that took place in romanticism. There was they were the first generation, poets, and then there were second generation poets, and now there are modern poets as well. So Sir Murtaza ka to bahut excellent, content base as well, because he talks about it so well, mashallah. So, it was the whole idea that how it evolved from person to person, but the idea was same. The first generation poets actually didn't even know that they were they didn't acknowledge themselves as romantics. firstly, but then again, they did knew that what their core ideas were and what their whole ideas are related to. If I take Vikra's word forward, usually आपने अपने 9th 10th के course में William Wordsworth की एक daffodils पढ़ी होगी, ठीक है? And usually वो सबको याद रहती है, or how daffodils were, and daffodils को इस तरह express किया, like they're the galaxy, they're the sky, they're everything. So, Ikra, if you would actually tell us what exactly William Wordsworth's idea was.
Basically, I would say an extreme love and passion for nature, an extreme infatuation, an extreme obsession with nature. Nobody can do better than William Wordsworth. He was a man. He thought he worshipped nature, and that's why a critic called him a supreme worshipper of nature. He says that in his poem, God is nature and nature is God. If you worship nature, then you can understand the real meaning of nature. A common man, when he visits to foreign countries or go to northern areas, what he sees there? He sees there greenery, mountains, lakes, and streams. But he doesn't get this idea. He doesn't think about writing. He just capture a picture in his mind, but he never try to write this specific. The main thing. What William Wordsworth observed, that he observed in his mind, he observed in his heart what he was trying to see. And when he wrote his poetry, the reader, they thought that he is a supreme worshipper of nature, who truly talked about nature exists in this world, but he worshipped nature. And in his various poems, he says, he talks about childhood, because he also loved childhood. Like he says that child is a father of a man. Child is a father of man. How? Because child is free from any sort of boundaries. They are allowed to do anything. They can cross any limit. So he says that when a man comes to his adulthood or in his old age, he just throw back the previous ideas. जब हम एक बंदा अपने किसी ओल्ड एज में आता है, और वो जो आपकी अडल्टहुड होती है और जो आपका चाइल्डहुड या जो भी पहले का पास्ट गुजरा हुआ है, उस पे इंसान बहुत कुछ सोचता है, फील फ्री होके ना, एक इमेजिनेशंस होती हैं कि ये भी और वो भी, बट जो आप अपनी इमेजिनेशन किसी को बता नहीं सकते हो, बट यू कैन राइट दैट. सो द सेम थिंग विलियम वर्ड्सवर्थ डिड दैट, कि उसने राइटिंग की और उसको नेचर को
इतना जबरदस्त किया कि इकरा का भी इंटरनेट हमारा अटक गया. ये मैंने स्टार्ट में आज बोला था, क्योंकि कराची में काफी बारिश हुई है, तो देयर लॉट्स ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी एंड इंटरनेट प्रॉब्लम्स. हाउएवर we'll continue with that. We've got lots of comments. So संदेश कुछ comments ऐड करते हैं, and then we'll just continue with this conversation. मोहम्मद मुमताज हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं. वालेकुम अस्सलाम. हफ्सा डेरो आपकी फेलो लिटरेचर स्टूडेंट हैं, वो भी मौजूद हैं और सर मुर्तज़ा को देख के काफी एक्साइटेड हैं. उबैद खान हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं और आपको सलाम कहते हैं. वालेकुम अस्सलाम. अस्मा खान हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं, कहती हैं अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर मुर्तज़ा, ग्लैड टू सी यू अगेन. ना आप ही की नजर लगी है सर मुर्तज़ा मैं बता रहा हूँ. नादिया कलीम हमारे साथ मौजूद है, कहते हैं इट्स ऑलवेज गुड टू सी सर मुर्तज़ा. देखें आप सब लोगों ने मिलकर सर मुर्तज़ा को ऐसी नजर लगाई, उनका नेट ही बंद हो गया. But inshallah we'll try and connect him with
and I'll try to message him as well.
Yes, absolutely. So Miss Nadia Kaleem हमारे साथ मौजूद है. Ma'am, I would love to have your input on romanticism. So please, if you can, share your thoughts on the topic as well, that would be lovely. तो बिल्कुल देखते हैं. मायरा जाकिर हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं और कहते हैं जी गुड टू सी यू सर. साथ सुल्तान
we're all actually very influenced by Sir Murtaza, to be honest. उनकी personality is so like colorful. बहुत मजा आता है सर क्लास में. So Saad is an amazing. मैं Saad का पहले ये बता दूं, Umar, he is a master's student. He's doing his master's in English literature from Greenwich University. He is an excellent poet, an amazing poet. ऐसा poet that you look at his poems and you'll be like, this is written for a proper book. Mashallah, he's so well. He's amazing.
देखते हैं क्या लिखा है उन्होंने.
Hello everyone. Romanticism was an ideology, a school of thought. If you will, can you please bring the light, its impact on modern ideas, especially love, romantic love in particular? Do you think romanticism ruined love? Example, in romanticism, a famous ideal is accept unconditionally. Yet in modern times, a financial discussion is a must, without which the particular love will evaporate very quickly. Since no modern couple could or should follow a romantic template in explanation, marriage, eros, and etc. So, as I said, even in class, Saad was the person who would bring the green flag. और उस ग्रीन फ्लैग को एक्सप्लेन करने में मैंने तो अक्सर से सर मुझे को देखा है कि can I come to this level? Can I ever reach this level of thinking? So yes, Asad, you're so right. If I talk about it like that, and I would
Right.
say Sir Murtaza would be the
Sir,
good.
can you hear us? Sir, can you hear us?
For the time being, I can't promise you anything.
Okay, but we're so glad to have you back. इससे पहले कि
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you absolutely fine. अब असल में हमारे जितने ऑडियंस हैं वो सब आपको देख के इतने एक्साइटेड हैं और सब इतने ज्यादा वो हो रहे हैं, तो मुझे लग रहा है कि वो सारी नजर लग गई है आपको, आप इतने प्यारे लग रहे थे ऑन स्क्रीन। तो इससे पहले कि मजीद कुछ नेट हमारा साथ ना दे, हम आपकी तरफ आते हैं एंड इफ यू कैन जस्ट टॉक ऑन द होल कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ रोमांटिसिज्म।
Basically, I guess को आवाज आ रही है? I guess को अभी भी आवाज नहीं आ रही। I'm just gonna message him talk about it because I think उनको नहीं आ रही।
Right, चलो either way, तो meanwhile till we connect back, और क्योंकि as I said कि ये सारी चीजें होती हैं और ये चीजें प्रूव करती हैं that we are live, क्योंकि जब लाइव होता है तो ये सारी चीजें तो होती हैं। क्यों इकरा, क्या ख्याल है आपका?
Exactly.
तो
ये तो है कि
कमेंट और ऐड ऑन कर लेते हैं। सर मधुजा, कैन यू हियर अस? I think he cannot hear us. So meanwhile till ये चीजें फिक्स हम करते हैं। आयशा नजमी का भी कमेंट आया हुआ है। आयशा नजमी कहती हैं, Ikra, I'm so glad to see you on screen speaking so confidently. And all right, Sayyed, thank you.
And the credit goes to, I will read that. And the credit goes to Umar because Umar has been a great mentor to Ikra. So I have to say that Umar has actually mentored us really well. We are having a radio which I say live radio sessions teaching from Umar. And it's been like, 7 weeks with Umar. And mashallah, Ikra was a complete introvert. And when she came in the class, she actually told Umar that, that's what's going to happen. I want to speak because I don't usually speak, and that's true. She's always been the person in the corner. She has ideas, she has lovely answers, but usually wo jo introverts hote hain jo class mein bas khamosh rehte hain. So yes, definitely the credit goes to Umar.
Exactly. Truly, I would say कि Umar, pushed me towards this side कि तुम बोला करो. तो I was a quiet girl. मैं इतना बोलती नहीं थी. तो definitely credit goes to.
मैं सबको बताऊं, सबसे ज्यादा खतरनाक क्वाइट गर्ल होती हैं, क्योंकि वो इतने टाइम से चुप होती है ना, उनका दिमाग उतना टाइम चल रहा होता है, तो जब वो बोलने पे आती है उनके पास इतना कुछ होता है बोलने के लिए कि वो फिर जो है ना बड़ा मसला हो जाता है। बट देन अगेन, जोक्स अपार्ट, माशाल्लाह मुझे खुद बड़ी खुशी होती है कि आप सारे जब जितना भी जब आते हैं और ऑन स्क्रीन आए या रेडियो करें, टीवी करें, लाइव सेशंस करें, सो एज अ पर्सन आई एम वेरी हैप्पी माशाल्लाह कि यू गाइस आर पार्ट ऑफ इट। आई जस्ट ऐड ऑन सम मोर कमेंट्स। महादेव माधवानी हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। Thank you. Or Zata Zahir is with us, or he's also there. Right.
Hello.
So continue with the topic, Sundas. So romanticism.
Yes, romanticism के बगैर अगर हम बात करें तो basically John Keats was the name. He was an amazing poet, and he was from second generation poets. ठीक है? And Danish had a very wonderful topic about it because mashallah he also had a great understanding. उनका तो इंटरनेट का बहुत मसला था, तो he couldn't join us. But I really miss you, Danish, and I really wish आप यहाँ होते. और बाकी ये कि if I talk about romanticism in terms of lyrical ballads, so basically romanticist जो थे ना, उनका जो even putting the whole ideas, it was how you can engrill it in the minds without actually infusing the idea of basic love. अगर आप देखो, if you can talk about the simple poems like daffodils, even अगर आप उसकी बात करो और अगर आप अपना you talk about it like my lover is like the daffodil, so yes, you can relate to the love of a person, but their idea was completely revolving around nature. And if I take Ikra's point of view on the idea of lyrical ballads as well, so Ikra, do you have insights on that?
Yeah. Lyrical ballad is basically a criticism on poetry, not on a negative aspect. It William Wordsworth wrote it with Samuel Taylor Coleridge, sorry, Samuel Taylor and Coleridge. So uh, he started about poetry, and in which it was his first work, in which he talked about nature, and he talked about his worshipping. So 30% of work William Wordsworth did in lyrical ballads, but 70% of work Samuel Taylor Coleridge completed that. He started, but he couldn't complete that work. So basically, theme and idea is same. He wrote various poems. He wrote evening walks. He talked about Lucy Gray. Lucy Gray was a character, an imaginative character. Few people think that, few critics says she was her lover. Lucy Gray was her lover. Might be in various poems. There is mentioned that Lucy Gray was a child. She was a 5-year-old child. She was a kid. She was a girl. No one could, analyze properly what and who Lucy Gray really was. Some people say that Lucy Gray was a imaginative character, and she was his imagination. She was not exist in real world. It's his visualization. She was not a part of life. So modern, whenever we talk about poets, so poets, they just imagine their thoughts, and they just take out that thing on paper, their emotions, their thinking, and everything. So the same thing William Wordsworth did that. So he talked, he think the idea about uh, nature, and then he portrayed into a paper, and when reader read that thing, they get influence from that. So I would say William Wordsworth is a poet who truly know the essence of nature.
Right. Right. Sir, can you hear us now?
1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I don't
Yes.
sir, we can hear you very well. बात ये कि अब सर ने अपना बैकग्राउंड चेंज किया, सर ने बड़ी मेहनत की, एफर्ट की, फाइनली वी होप can you hear
I
us?
only haven't changed the background. I have changed the entire house. I am in my
Oh.
neighbor's house now.
Oh wow.
So sweet.
सर ये
So
होता है
sweet.
पैशन, ये होता है पैशन. बट सर बिफोर कि आपको मजीद नजरें लगे हमारे ऑडियंस की, वी वुड लव टू हैव योर व्यू ऑन रोमांटिसिज्म कि थोड़ा सा elaborate करें, because the way you can put it, none of us can.
Exactly.
Okay, whatever the romantic poets have said it, I think nothing can surpass that. My love for romanticism, my love for poetry and improving in poetry only started off with romanticism itself as well. So as a movement, you may say that it only lasts between mid 18th century and towards the initial start of mid of 19th century. So in a span of 60 years, that's what we get for romanticism. And you're like, oh, this must be a failed movement or something like that. But if you look at romanticism in actuality, it's impinged itself, it's confined itself to every movement possible. So let me just give a brief introduction to what I wanted to say. Romanticism, I think, is a very vital part of history, because it's not even connected to war or politics or anything. It's purely the birth of a set of ideas. All right. So you have a few intellectuals sitting in their remote homes and burning new ideas together. All right. So a set of ideas. So this mid-century, 18th century movement is a mindset, and a way of feeling. So you have the mind and the heart together, and that amalgamation, that assemblance is one of the beautiful things that we see in life. So it started off in Western Europe, and we had a handful of poets and writers and philosophers, only a handful, and slowly it spread to all the aspects of artistic creations, which includes sculptures and paintings and movies and songs, and even conversation and thoughts that you and I are having right now. So you can say safely that something that lasted only for like 60 years is actually something that has been there in all aspects of our sensibilities. So A romanticism or a romantic idea is something that is impinged, that has instilled itself in all aspects of our sensibility, even today. So if we are in all parts of our life, in every part of our life, a romantic. All right. So this is
True.
how it is. Now let me just talk about how it began, and I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes,
Uh,
you're absolutely audible.
okay. Fine. I'm sorry. I'm using my laptop here, and my earphones are right here, and they're not connecting for some reason. I don't know what's wrong.
सर
So
बात ये होती है कि जब ग्रेटनेस के कोई भी काम करने के लिए आता है ना इंसान, तो रास्ते में बड़े ऑब्स्टिकल्स आते हैं, तो दीज आर दोज ऑब्स्टिकल्स, बट वी वोंट गिव अप। तो बिल्कुल देखें, आपका पैशन था कि आप दूसरे घर पहुंच गए शो ज्वाइन करने के लिए, तो बिग थैंक यू फॉर दैट, एंड वी आर सो ग्लैड एंड ऑल द ऑडियंस दैट यू हैव, so please sir, carry on.
all right. So to talk about how it began, I'll keep it short. It was a reaction. All right. It wasn't a birth. It was more of a reaction to the birth of the modern world. And when I talk about the modern world, some of the features of it includes industrialization, there's urbanization, there's secularization, there's communalism. All of these factions, all of these features are something that culminates and calls itself the modern world. So romantics did not like that idea, so they revolted against it. So not revolted that they marched in the streets and take them to the guillotine or something like that, but a very modest kind of thing. So they cut themselves out of society. Okay, let me take you out for a spin. Consider yourself in the middle of a rise of a modernity. All right, the world around you is growing more rational, it's growing more scientific, it's technologically enhanced, and then there's an increasingly sensible, planned, and sterile and bureaucratic environment. So you get the picture. All right, it's a very modern world, and in that modern rise of the machines, as we say, we have against this in in this small town of Marais in Paris, Jean-Claude Rousseau, all right, who wrote a book called Emily, and the book is about raising children. So here you are talking about building machines and industry and everything, and opposing that idea is Jean-Claude Rousseau, who talks about Emile, a book about raising children, and the book is against the tribes of adults and focuses on the wisdom and spontaneity of children. All right. So
Right.
let me cut it short again. It's against all the advancements. And Rousseau emphasizes on the child. And he calls the child the original rebel. And the child is the original rebel. A child is raw. He's a representative of everything that is pure, unschooled, and outside the adult discipline. All right. So a child is raw. He's not cut into and normalized into a faction which is now normal for all of us. All right. When a child gets into school, when a child gets into society, he is raw, and we cultivate him according to our needs. Tailor making a child. So he didn't want that. Rousseau believed that the child himself is an awe inspiration on its own. So the child was the seed of creativity and genius, of course. And everything turned towards the child because he was pure to begin with.
Right.
You can say unadulterated. All right.
Right.
This is the first time what happened is that Glamour was directed not at the attainment of reason, because reason is something that was predominant at that time. So it wasn't Glamour that was Glamour wasn't directed at reason and self-control of adults, but it was at the freedom of tradition and the natural innocence and sweetness of a child. So they
Right.
were celebrating the natural innocence and sweetness of a child. And to be a romantic, if I call myself a romantic, it is to find myself relieved from the competitive city life. So there's a city life going on towards my right, there's a city life going on towards my left. I have cut myself off from that society, and I'm a recluse. I'm, even a hermit. All right. And the natural grandeur that transcends all human achievements and concerns. That is what romanticism is all about.
Wow, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for adding on all that. We were discussing earlier that this movement started in the 18th century, but as we've seen, all of our Sufi poets in the history, in the past, they all used to write about nature, love of God. So Romanticism was pretty much there, but the whole name and the tag of it started on in the 18th century with the Western movement, but it was pretty much there in our Sufism. What would you say on that?
All right. You see, when we talk about poetry, when we talk about creation, it is all based on the subconscious activity that we have. And the subconscious is fed by the environment. So whatever we see in the environment, we become. All right. So, for example, if in Pakistan, you have someone born a Pakistani living in Pakistan for a long time, living in this condition, so his poetry, his writing, his art would have some kind of restriction, would have some kind of value now. Right? So everything that you will write will be fed by the environment. So naturally, when you're talking about older times where we didn't have the luxury of homes and everything, industry was just on, just an idea, a perspective at that time. So before the industrialization, before Renaissance, we are talking about even before the French Revolution. So we are talking about open air and getting the mirth out of everything. तो पत्ते हिल रहे हैं, हवा आ रही है, खूबसूरत तो मंजर लग रहा है किसी को, उसको उसने रोमांटिसाइज कर लिया उस बंदे ने। अब वो जो उसको रोमांटिसाइज कर लिया, वो पत्ते खूबसूरत नहीं थे या वो नहीं था, बट वी अब जो है जैसे सूफीज़म में आजकल जो कलाम आ रहे हैं, या फिर इफ यू टॉक अबाउट, I just said that it may be a Western Europe idea that was cultivated in the mid 18th century, but it's something that has been spread its root across the entire world. And even today in the 21st century, मैं यहाँ बैठा हुआ romantic poetry लिख रहा हूँ, ठीक है? So why am I writing a romantic poetry? Because that idea of living with nature, the idea of individuality, the idea that was sprouted was beautiful. It wasn't practical. The reason for it was because it wasn't practical, but it's beautiful. So when you're sitting on your own and when you want to enjoy yourself, you wouldn't be staring at your walls or this curtain behind me. I'd be staring at the world outside. So I'd be getting my inspiration from that. So that will feed ideas.
So there's a comment there from Muhammad Ali. He writes, people also need to distinguish between spiritualism and romanticism. So what would you say to that?
Okay, look, romantics, when you talk about romantics and spiritualism, it depends on what kind of spirits do you believe in. When you talk about romantic, they were very influenced by Roman and Greek history, and even if you see the works of John Keats or anyone, even Coleridge, you see a lot of influence from Greek mythology and that kind of spirit. So you had those scepters and apparitions and fairies and gnomes. And a lot of mythical figures as well, such as the Psyche and Zeus even. So you have a lot of Greek mythology impinged into it. So their spirituality is different from the spirituality that you're talking about for Sufis or any other. So you can't say that romanticism is spirituality. All right. If I say you should separate romanticism from religion, so my religion is different from the person sitting right in front of me, from the people I'm talking to, from the world. So religion is a very diverse topic. Spiritualism is a very diverse topic. So you're only focused on the spirituality. When you talk about romantics, they're focused on the spirituality of these mythical figures, such as the Greek mythology or Roman mythology. It has nothing to do with God or anything like that. So because they believe that nature and God is one itself. I think Ikra already said that nature and God is one, or no difference. It's all the same. So spirituality and romanticism is a very different aspect. Very different.
We have got more comments. Aisha Najmi is with us. She writes, Murtaza and poetry are a perfect combo. Always, I still remember taking contemporary poetry from him. One of the best memories, I must say. Murtaza, do you have any memories with Aisha Najmi?
A lot of memories. I just feel pity for her that she did also, she painted me as a best memory and she didn't have any good memories to be found of. So I feel pity for her. Sorry.
Right.
But I had great memories with her.
Very good. Ajab Ali Lashari, he writes, Santos, if you can read that message, please.
Yes, Rosier's slogan was return to nature and considers nature is the best teacher. Romanticism was reaction against pseudo-classical literature of 18th century. So
yeah, it's against classicism. When you're talking about romanticism, it's a direct revolt against classicism. The classicism was focused on things that were palpable. All right, and romantics were talking about ideas that were abstract. All right, so that's the clear definition right there. And they thought that, and of course, they came up with the theory of transcendentalism. Transcendentalism, it's a very tongue twister for me. So again, an offset from the works of the former poets or former ideologies. So Rousseau, like you said, was a worker of nature, and nature for romantics is a teacher, not only an inspiration; it's a teacher. So yeah.
Sir, I would take your point forward, and I would say that romantics were actually, even the poets, they actually secluded themselves. They actually took a different part because even when I was taking contemporary poetry from you, and I even took it from you, and I have great memories from that. So you always told us about that how certain eras when people come and people start poetry, they have certain mindsets that they want to talk about this. But when we talk about romanticists, they had a very different, line because they did not want to talk about the materialistic thing, the love of people. They did not want to talk about, the idea behind that प्यार मोहब्बत ही सब कुछ है और कुछ नहीं है और इसके बगैर तो जिंदगी नहीं है जिस तरह अभी साद ने भी हमसे पूछा साद वाज एक्चुअली रिलेटिंग ही हैड अ वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन ही वाज लाइक कि किस तरह से हम लोग रोमांटिसिस्ट को और किस तरह से हम लोग व्हाट शुड आई से द अदर न्यू मॉडर्न लव को लेते हैं तो सर व्हाट इज योर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑन दैट बिकॉज साद का क्वेश्चन वाज रियली कूल
You're talking about romantic love and contemporary love?
No, I'm talking about romantic poets and then romantic love. What is it nowadays?
Oh, romantic love, contemporary. जो आज की understanding है romantic love क्या होता है? You want me to get fired from my house?
I know she won't. You're an amazing guy. No, she won't.
Romantic love is quite different from when you talk about romanticism because they elevated it, exalted it to a point that they merged them together. Now, if you actually talk about today's time and romantic love, we would, okay, this is the reverse, so I'm having a problem here. Okay, so when you actually talk about modern love and romantic love, it's going to be a bit different because we have to come into practicality as well. We have to before jumping in, so today we have an semblance, a merger between romantic love and the love that we had during the aristocratic time. Because aristocracy में जैसे Jane Austen की novel में Pride and Prejudice में पहली sentence में वो बोल रही है कि it is the universal truth that man in possession of a fortune must be in search for a woman. So there were always suitors, and if you look at Shakespeare's plays, we're always looking at suitors as well. तो वो ये था कि अगर वो पीछे से उसकी औकात है तो जब ये शादी करे ये eloping वाला सिलसिला नहीं चलता. Romantics जो थे वो eloping वाला सिलसिला था. They thought that everything could be derived from the spouse. Everything, as in the spouse must not only be a lover, but a spouse should be even someone who is a philosopher, a psychiatrist, a friend, a companion, everything. So they were looking for everything in a spouse.
On the lighter side, I believe हमें 4 शादियों की इसीलिए इजाजत दे दी गई है एक में तो मिलना मुश्किल है.
एक में सब कुछ मिलना मुश्किल है और दूसरी बात जो सबसे बड़ा हमारे लिए फायदा है लेकिन लड़कियों के लिए नुकसान है कि we should have overlooked all the flaws that the spouses had. So for a romantic के वो बहुत कहते हैं ना प्यार में अंधे हो जाते हैं तो वो romantic idea है where when you are in love everything is beautiful around that girl or because I'm talking about myself. So कि उसकी कोई flaws नहीं है. तो अगर मैं घर में आके मोजे यहाँ फेंक देता हूँ और कपड़े वहाँ फेंक देता हूँ तो मेरी बीवी को वो सब नजर ही नहीं आएगा क्योंकि वो मुझसे प्यार करती है. बट दैट्स नॉट प्रैक्टिकल, ऑलराइट. एंड पैसे कमाने की जरूरत नहीं है, प्यार ही काफी है, एंड दैट्स नॉट प्रैक्टिकल. सो वी हैव टू कम समवेयर बिटवीन व्हाट वाज बिफोर एंड व्हाट वाज क्रिएटेड बाय द रोमांटिक्स टू लिव इन द वर्ल्ड टुडे. We have to sort out the financials and everything. So I think practicality is a very major element here. Love on its own, yes, but practicality too.
Yes. So
मतलब taking your point forward,
practical हो के प्यार करना पड़ेगा. मतलब सोच समझ के प्यार करें, full
Sir, एक बात बताएं. Don't you think that now the whole situation, the whole world we're living in, practicality is a very important factor? Love is just one part of it. I believe that even अभी भी अगर हम लोग अपनी ही generation में लोगों को देखें, the people who are falling in love, at least the people who I know or the people around me who have fallen in love or gotten married or something, they always look at both the sides. They see the compatibility with the person. They see the education with that person, that how well they can talk about certain things. I remember one of my friends was talking about that. I had a political discussion with the guy I was getting married to, so I could know that how well or how much we can actually tolerate each other. So practicality is something that is now very common.
I will add one thing more to it कि सर बड़ी आपने एक अच्छी बात की कि इसमें अगर हम प्रैक्टिकल होने की बात करें कि even there's lots of more factors, but at the same time जो एक happiness that you get when you're in love, उसका कंपैरिजन किसी भी मटेरियल, किसी भी वेल्थ, किसी भी चीज या किसी भी खाने से नहीं है. मतलब ये एक वो फीलिंग है, द पर्सन हु इज इन दैट लव, भले वो एक दिन का हो और बाद के अंदर वॉर हो, लेकिन द फीलिंग दैट यू गेट फ्रॉम लव इज नॉट कंपेरेबल to any other thing in the world, because that's like the bestest of feeling of them all. Or what would you say on that?
Look, the thing is that if I was John Keats and I was in the 18th century and I was eloping with a woman that I love, मैं उसको भगा के ले जाता and I would have lived under a tree. All right. लेकिन यहाँ पर मैं आज 21st century में 2020 में pandemic हो या ना हो, मैं अपनी महबूब को बाहर ले जाके भगा के मैं किसी दरख्त के नीचे नहीं रह सकता. तो वो प्रैक्टिकलिटी का एलिमेंट आना जरूरी है. प्रैक्टिकलिटी आना जरूरी है और प्यार होना भी ऑफ कोर्स जैसे आपने कहा वो जरूरी है. इसलिए मैंने कहा था वी हैव टू फाइंड द मिडिल ग्राउंड where everything of the background of the guy and everything that the guy has to give, the persona and the mindset, the heart that he has to give, everything has to come together in today's world. अब हम आजकल तो ये है, आगे क्या होता है ये तो देखा जाएगा. हो सकता है प्यार बिल्कुल ही खत्म हो जाए, प्रैक्टिकलिटी वापस.
उमर अब देखो सर मुर्तजा जिस तरह बात करते हैं उमर, आई वुड टेक दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी नाउ बिकॉज सर मुर्तजा हमेशा मुझे बोलते हैं दैट्स जस्ट नो डोंट एग्जैजरेट इट, बट आई वुड से बिकॉज सर मुर्तजा सेम ये नोशंस देते हैं क्लास में और मेजॉरिटी फीमेल्स की है, ठीक है. एंड अब बताओ, वुडंट ही हैव फैंस? Wouldn't he have people who are going to say, yes, this is the teacher we want to listen to? Because, he always brings this element in class, even if you're talking about anything. Or even if sometimes, he tries to make fun of feminism. I know he tries to get with the boys and he tries to make fun of it, But I think that he is a feminist himself as well, because he always it takes it to a point that, yes, there is a level which we need to now figure out. We need to take this balance. It's all good, mazak, sab kuch karna, it's perfectly fine. So Ikra, how would you say, taking this point forward and taking, John Keats' point with Sir forward, that John Keats said, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. This is something that we've all, gone way with it. It's like the most repeated quote of his, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. So Ikra, do you have your, point of views on it?
John Keats, basically, he, just like William Wordsworth talk about, and he worked on nature. So John Keats was a person who praised beauty, and he also put this idea of imagination. For instance, just like in his various poems, in his odes, ode to immortality or ode to Grecian urn. There is an urn. Urn is a vase. In English literature, urn is a vase where two pictures are portrayed, and he says that जो वर्ल्ड एग्जिस्ट करता है इस अर्न पे, इस वास पे, वो हजारों साल बाद भी वैसा ही रहेगा जब तक वो टूटे ना. बिकॉज वो एक आपकी डिफरेंट इमेजिनेशंस हो जाती हैं जब आप सोच रहे होते हो, और आप किसी चीज को सोच के जब उसको पेंटिंग कर रहे होते हो तो वो बिल्कुल डिफरेंट क्या कहते हैं कि अंदाज में आप उसको पिक्चराइज कर रहे होते हो, बना रहे होते हो या विजुअलाइज कर रहे होते हो. फिर जब आपकी विजुअलाइजेशन एग्जैक्टली आप पिक्चर में नहीं ला सकते हो, बिकॉज जो आपके माइंड में इमेज बन रही होती है, बट अ पर्सन कैन ट्राई. वो ये कहता है जॉय और ब्यूटी के बारे में, बिकॉज he also loved nature, and he also I'm sorry.
So I guess Ikra के वहाँ से कोई इंटरनेट का मसला आ रहा है, तो that's why आवाज भी उसकी कनेक्ट स्टॉप हो रहा है.
इंटरनेट का मसला नहीं है, वो बोलते बोलते शर्माना शुरू हो गई है असल में.
अच्छा, if I take this forward and Ikra की बात, I would love the fact that Ikra ने वो एक ways के साथ इसको लेके चली, and how she compared those ideas. I actually agree with that. Sir, if I talk to you about it, the poetry of the earth, never dies. John Keats says that, the poetry of the nature, the poetry of the earth never dies. What do you have to say? Because that's a very strong, word out there.
Okay, so a thing of beauty that he said is an extract from Adam and one of the famous poems for John Keats. And in that poem, he says that beauty is something that lasts forever, that you were talking about, right? And he says that beauty is a source of endless joy. Endless joy का मतलब है कि वो beauty कभी fade नहीं करती. So if you're that takes away the superficial, the facade of beauty from its own. जैसे आज मैं Instagram में scroll करते हुए देख रहा था कि बेला हदीद, one of the I think बेला हदीद नाम है, one
Yes, sir.
supermodel or something, she has scientifically the most beautiful face. तो मैंने काफी गौर से उसको देखा, मैंने कहा यार 95% beautiful. फिर मैं गौर से देखने लगा, मैंने यार इससे ज्यादा खूबसूरत मैंने देखे हुए हैं. So scientifically she's beautiful. So this facade is something that will last for like what, a few years, a few decades. After that, it will fade away. So what John Keats saw in something was more than what the apparition was, more than what the surface level feeling was. So he saw within it an endless beauty, and he got attached to it. And he says beauty is truth and truth beauty, because truth never dies. जो सच्चाई है वो कभी मरती नहीं है, ठीक है. तो इसलिए वो जब वाज को देखता है तो वो कहता है कि it is an eternal preservation of a history. So there are so many elements in that urn itself that would guide you towards what had happened. So अगर जैसे इकरा ने कहा था कि उस urn में जो है वो एक बंदा बैठा हुआ flute बजा रहा है. This flute the music of his flute may not be heard, but it will be played forever, because he's captured in that moment. And then this guy is running after a girl. Both of them are young, but the guy would never catch the girl because they're preserved that way. But on the positive side, Keats says that he may always be yearning for her. So their beauty, their youth, and their spark will always be young and forever. So
Right.
his way of expression of beauty was way over what we could express on our own. So I think that is why we found stepping stones to read Romanticism and then try to get ourselves up in the world.
I want to comment here. Ajay Ali Lashai says, Keats also said, "Love is my religion. I can die for that." Keats was rejected by his beloved Fanny Brown because of his poverty. तो मतलब सर उस सेंचुरी के अंदर भी गुर्बत की वजह से लोगों का पता कट रहा.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. कीट्स जो है वो बेचारा इतना गरीब था कि वो बायरन के बेसमेंट में रहता था. तो आप ये समझ ले कि he didn't have any possession of his own, because I just talked about them being extremely ascetic in nature. All right, so they don't really care about worldly possessions and everything. For them, transcending in this world is more than anything for them. ठीक है, तो वो worldly accolades और वो सब नहीं होते. लेकिन of course Keats at the end of the day is human. He fell in love, but he was rejected by that woman. And I think the question was also targeted towards Ikra. I think he's trying to find something more from Ikra than from me. Could you?
Yes, absolutely. But then again, बात सर सही है. और इसके अंदर मैं क्योंकि अपने सारे रोमांटिसिज्म की बात की, even spoke about love. I personally believe that love never dies. आपकी भी बात थी, उसी को मैं second करूँगा.
Exactly.
Love never ends. मतलब if love is ending, it was never love. You were confused between love or something, because if you love something or someone, it could be a material, a person, or anything, nature, कुछ भी हो सकता है. With time, it should grow. आपने एक और चीज बोली कि beauty fades away and all that. But if you're in love with the person's nature, personality, so that will be there. In fact, with time, you will fall deeper and deeper. So it's all about a perspective, and it's all about being clear. Do not get confused with love, infatuation, or a temporary attraction due to something. What would you say on that?
मैंने कहा था कि पोएट्स जो रोमांटिस्ट्स जो हैं उनकी फिक्सेशन थी चिल्ड्रन, because they were unadulterated, they were pure, they were obsolete, they were not obsolete, sorry for the term, they were eternal, all right, pure purest form. अब मैं इसको juxtapose करता हूँ एक और आइडिया से, पहला प्यार. सलोमर, आपको अपना पहला प्यार तो याद होगा
सर? प्री नर्सरी. First school.
The purity that you had for your first love. People say that you don't forget your first love. Now, what is the justification behind it? Romantically speaking, according to romantics, because they say that the child is pure and is unadulterated and he's unfiltered. He's pure raw form. All right. So this animal in him is being brought forward. So when he loves for the first time, it is without any conventions. It is
Right.
without any conventions. And he loves for the purity of it. But then when it doesn't work out for him, he starts listing out all the things that went wrong in that relationship. So he's going to now have a list in his hand, a checklist in his hand, and with a list of conventions on him, and look at the next possible, candidate of love, and then inspect her. Because I'm a guy, I'm talking about a girl, and then the guy will inspect her. Does she do what my first one did? So that's a checklist kind of thing. So it always gets smeared. The more it is brought forward, the more the world is involved with it. So I think natural love, jo first form, is the purest on its
So
own.
इसमें I'd love to add on few things in this कि एक तो ये कि if you have a bad experience, जैसे हमने देखा कि पुराने लोग भी even they got rejected and all. So if you have a bad experience, or if it doesn't end well, it starts good but it never ends well, so do not turn bitter towards love. बात ये कि वो उस वजह से you do not change yourself. I would just simply tell everyone in life, if you want to be happy, love yourself first. क्योंकि जब आप खुद से मोहब्बत नहीं करोगे, so how can you expect कोई और आपसे मोहब्बत करेगा, right? So you have to be at peace with your own self and look at the bright side of everything. एक aura होता है हर इंसान का, and once you possess that thing, अब जैसे सर आप क्लास के अंदर वो एक एनर्जी, वो aura चलाते हैं, everyone loves you. It's just because of your nature and the way you carry things and all that. And आपकी इस point को भी मैं बहुत emphasis करना चाहूँगा कि love is pure. What in today's time, what we're confused with के सारी दुनिया की impurity आपने love से मिला दी है, and then you call it love. It's not love. Love is the purest form. So one should not confuse ourselves with that.
तो आज का कोट हम ये करते थे कि पाकिस्तानी लव इज लाइक पाकिस्तानी मिल्क. So let's
These are the reasons.
But I would talk on Sar's point of view. Like he said, romantic poets talk about love fades away with the passage of time. It's true. Whenever a person falls in love with someone, how many years or how many days or months he or she spends with his beloved, the love between them remains same. It prospers, it works. But with the passage of time, when after 2 to 3 years, 4 years, or 10 years, 20 years, your love starts dying. It starts dying, and it's lost that prosper pleasure or everything which you had previously. अगर मैं ये बोलूं कि
मैं इसको समराइज अगर करता हूँ तो मतलब बेसिकली आप जो कह रही हैं कि वो चार्म खत्म हो जाता है, तो सर मुझे एडवाइस दें कि ये चार्म को बरकरार कैसे रखा जाए.
How did we move from romanticism to
I was just thinking the same thing कि अभी तुमने जो सवाल सर से पूछा है ना, sir is going to be completely blank on it because he's a person who's more practical and more directed towards things. अभी तुमने पूछा कि सर ये जिंदा कैसे रहता है, मैं भी सर को यूँ देखी हूँ, सर आप बताएं तो हम भी सुने.
देखिए क्योंकि बात हुई है तो क्योंकि चाहते हैं then we'll move towards the end, क्योंकि सिलसिला शुरू हुआ है तो अच्छा है हर तरह के लोगों को हम आइडिया दें.
हाँ बिल्कुल. मैं उमर आपसे यही कहूँगा जो आपने बात कही थी, दैट इज किसी तरह हम मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड में किसी तरह हमको सिखा सकें कि लविंग योरसेल्फ first, because religion teaches us to love ourselves and love thyself, love thy neighbor. Even in the Christian 10 commandments, it's the second one, if I'm not wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And so if we fail to love ourselves, do not give yourself to an extent that you stop treating yourself as a human. ठीक है, तो इतना ज़्यादा मत पढ़ो, इतना ज़्यादा मत गिरो. There's a persona, there's a stance you have to maintain, and make sure that is not changed. Because if you change yourself, then that you'll have to live with that change for the rest of your life. So, and if you become yourself again, then there's rejection again. So
exactly. जितनी हमने कहानियां, दास्तान, फिल्म, गाने सुन के जो आजकल की हमारी जनरेशन में एक लव का कॉन्सेप्ट आ गया है, तो दैट इज नॉट लव. आप थोड़ा सा पढ़ें, समझें, हिस्ट्री में जाएं. आज का जो सेशन है रोमांटिसिज्म कर रहे हैं, पहले ये समझें कि लव ऑफ नेचर क्या, लव क्या है. love is not just a
Sundas,
close-ended.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
I think I cannot.
Point is this कि ये जो हम लोगों ने कंफ्यूज कर दिया चीजों को, इस चीज में बंदा sorry I got just disrupted कि confused now, understand the real meaning, real essence, it's way too deep. और once you do that तो हर चीज पर automatically falls in place. जैसे अब हम लव ऑफ नेचर की बात करते हैं, एनी पर्सन नो मैटर हु ही इज, क्या बैकग्राउंड, क्या रिलीजन, जो भी है, आप कभी भी नेचर के करीब जाएं, यू गो बाय द बीच और इट्स रेनिंग और इट्स वेरी नाइस सनी डे, तो आप यू फील गुड, आप माउंटेन्स ग्रीनरी में जाएं, यू फील फ्रेश. व्हाई इज दैट? क्योंकि ह्यूमन इज पार्ट ऑफ नेचर, और आप जितना नेचर के करीब रहेंगे यू विल फील दैट लव, दैट एसेंस. So it's very important to understand the meaning of love. Do not close end the word love कि वो सिर्फ दो लोगों के बीच हो सकता है. It is way too deep. और उसके लिए आप सर मुर्तजा की क्लासेस भी ज्वाइन करें.
If you want to have a good time, yeah, for sure. And if you want to know more about Keats, because अभी romanticism की session जो हमारा अभी live चल रहा है वो 55 minutes cross कर चुका है. लेकिन to know about romanticism is not about the era, about the people, about their biographies. It's more about the way the poems were constructed. So if you really want to enjoy the era, you have to delve into the poems that they've constructed, the intensity with which they've portrayed love for nature, love for humanity, love for another person, or maybe talk about the philosophy of individuality, transcendentalism, and becoming the child. So itni fantastic write-ups and poems हैं, and I'm still to find a poem that is written better than romantics. So अगर मतलब कि मेरे लिहाज से Keats is the god of poetry, as in not
If
no
you would like to share, if you would like to share something from Keats, और बिल्कुल जाने से पहले कुछ recommendations भी सारे viewers को दे दें who wants to get into this and who wants to read, तो कुछ recommendations भी दे दें जो वो पढ़ के start कर सकें, and they can get into the whole romanticism reading.
Keats में मैं ये कहूँगा कि when you're talking about a specific poetry, make sure that whatever mythical elements are induced in it, या कोई भी Greek mythology अगर उसमें डाली भी है तो उसको पहले समझे सही तरह before getting into the poem, so that you know the intensity, the gravity of the poem. And then एक line जो है ना, एक भी line फजूल में नहीं लिखी होती, एक भी line. So you have to get into the depths, into the between the structures and between the lines and even between the verses. But it's not between the lines, it's between the verses here. So poetry may any of the odes, ode to melancholy, ode to nightingale, ode to psyche, ode to the Grecian, all of them are fantastic poems. Yes, so besides that, you can go for Ozymandias by Shelley. You can one fantastic poem that beats everything is Rhyme to the Ancient Mariner, Coleridge ki hai, ya Ode to Intimations of Immortality by Wordsworth. All of these are fantastic write-ups, and they are at par level on their own. So it's incomparable. Or if sometime would happen, I had written an ode to romanticism. I would love to share that somewhere here if there's a portal here. So I'd share my poem. So it's a ode ka matlab hota hai praise. So praise to romanticism. So I've written a poem which is a praise to romanticism. It's a very juvenile attempt, but at least it's there. So I'm happy that I wrote it. So I'll probably share it over here. But इस ओड को ना पढ़िएगा और जज करिएगा रोमांटिक्स को, असली रोमांटिक्स की असली ओड्स पढ़िएगा एंड यू वुड लव इट.
Indeed, also exact point में यही बात कर रहा था कि किसी भी चीज को जज करने से पहले या अपने लिमिटेड एक्सपोजर, एक्सपीरियंस और जो भी आपकी ऑब्जर्वेशन है उसकी बेस पे जज करने से पहले ट्राई एंड गेट इनटू द डेप्थ ऑफ द थिंग. जो भी कोई भी चीज है थ्रू आउट लिटरेचर, चाहे वो कोई पोएट्री हो, यहाँ तक कि इवन इफ यू टॉक अबाउट सम होली स्क्रिप्चर, चाहे वो बाइबल हो, चाहे वो कुरान, लाइक गेट इनटू द डेप्थ एंड अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट्स रिटन. क्या चीज लिखी है, किस दौर में लिखी है, किसके लिए लिखी है, क्यों लिखी है, एंड उसको अंडरस्टैंड करें, ना कि उसको अपने आप से स्टार्ट कंपेयर करके अपना एक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू बना लें. यू विल नेवर गेट द true essence or true meaning of what was written under what circumstances. I would definitely take that point, and as much as I'm loving this session, it's been an hour and we have to wrap it up, but sir, abhi Tishna ki baki hai. We would definitely like to have you some other time as well. आपको तकलीफ कर देना चाहेंगे so that we can continue and learn more and more from your experience and your observations. So जाने से पहले मैं सबसे पूछता हूँ, सबसे पहले इकरा, how was your experience at Greenwich live sessions? It was your first live show ever. तो आपको कैसा लगा?
Uh, it was better, and now I'm feeling well. I was not confused and not nervous. So especially this romanticism topic is my favorite topic. I would say when I first came to Greenwich University, I first gave my presentation on William Wordsworth, and I choose this topic for presentation. So that's what I was really excited to talk on this topic. So today my net is not working properly. I think रेन की वजह से कोई मसला हो रहा है तो डिसकनेक्टिविटी हो रही है, अदरवाइज
It doesn't
सेशन
matter,
वाज
but
गुड.
and it was nice to have you as well. सर मुर्तजा, आपका आज का जो सेशन है वो बड़ा एडवेंचरस रहा.
बहुत
कमरे से लैपटॉप से लैपटॉप, नेट से नेट, और फिर एक घर से दूसरे घर. हाउ वुड यू लाइक टू शेयर योर एक्सपीरियंस? आपको आज लाइव सेशंस पे कैसा रहा आज का एक्सपीरियंस?
मैं बस ये बोलना चाहूंगा कि if it was any other topic than romanticism, I would have never taken the effort. So
Wow.
for romanticism, I would like to spread. I would even like to advocate to anyone to read and get into romanticism, read the poems, to know about a perspective that you've never been experienced before. So ये मेरे ख्याल से practically ही दिखा दिया मैंने कि किस हद तक जा सकता हूँ romantics के लिए. तो मेरे ख्याल से
I would definitely, आप मुझे रेफर करिएगा. आज आपके इस सेशन से मेरा इंटरेस्ट पहले भी था, लेकिन अब बहुत मजीद बढ़ा है. I would like to understand and know about it much more and more, and I'm very sure कि हमारे ऑडियंस भी जितने थे उनका भी उतना ही इंटरेस्ट डेवलप हुआ होगा जितना मेरा इंटरेस्ट डेवलप हुआ है. And thank you once again for being part
Thank
of
you.
Greenwich Live session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, so guys, this was our session for today. You heard some Murtaza, a student, Ikra Asif, and our co-host Sundus Anwar. Our topic was romanticism, जिसके हम बहुत डेप्थ में गए, बहुत खुल के बात की, और बहुत सी लोगों की जो कंफ्यूजन है उसके हवाले से बात की. And get into it, start reading. आप जितना पढ़ेंगे उतना आपका इंटरेस्ट बढ़ेगा, उतना आपकी क्यूरियोसिटी बढ़ेगी. एंड रीडिंग से मुराद ये नहीं कि सिर्फ आप पढ़ लें और अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग के हिसाब से कहें कि अच्छा ये चीज़ यूँ लिखी है, ऐसे लिखी है. गेट इनटू द डेप्थ, एज सर मुर्तजा सेड, कि उस चीज़ को समझें कि लिखा क्या गया. इवन बिटवीन लाइन्स देयर आर स्ट्रॉन्ग मैसेजेस. एक एक लाइन को इलैबोरेट करने के लिए पीपल कैन राइट होल एंटायर बुक्स. इतनी ज़्यादा डेप्थ होती है लिटरेचर में. स्पेशली romanticism is such a beautiful topic where if you discover it, you start falling in love with life in itself. हर चीज ऑटोमेटिकली अच्छी लगने लगेगी. So that was our topic for today. I hope you had a good time. कराची में बारिशों का सिलसिला कल से जारी है. So I really hope everyone stays safe. Electricity, internet issues हैं. Doesn't matter. Positive रहना is important. खासतौर पे क्वारंटाइन पीरियड जो कि खत्म होने की तरफ है. रीडिंग की आदत डाल, and that's the reason we started these literature sessions, कि आप लोगों का interest towards the reading side बढ़े. And we'll keep on doing this till हम सब लोगों को रियलाइज करा सकें कि कितनी ये खूबसूरत दुनिया है किताबों की, और किताबों से हम जो दूर होते जा रहे हैं तो हम खुद पर जुल्म कर रहे हैं. So that was all for today. You can always give your feedback in the comments. Let us know कि आप फ्यूचर में लाइव सेशन में किन गेस्ट को देखना चाह रहे हैं, फ्यूचर में लाइव सेशन में आप किन टॉपिक्स पे प्रोग्राम देखना चाह रहे हैं. और राइट हियर यू कैन सी our official WhatsApp number, that is 0306224833. Our email address admissions@greenwich.edu.pk, and our website, that is greenwich.university, जहाँ 14 September से fall semester start हो रहा है. You can visit the website and see all the fields and programs Greenwich is offering. That includes BBA, MBA, MPhil, PhD, English literature, language, linguistics. At the same time, we have media, economics, and banking, finance, and of course we have offered B.Ed for all the teachers out there जो education field में formally आना चाहते हैं. 50% flat discount for all teachers to join the B.Ed program, become professional teachers and progress in their careers. So इसी के साथ दीजिए उमर खान को इजाज़त. कल इंशाल्लाह मुलाकात होगी with another guest, same time. Till next time, stay safe, keep smiling, stay positive, not corona positive, positive in life. Until next time, Pakistan Zindabad.